You're in front of family. She's actually family from DC, so yes.
So I'm the team lead of the Barnes Home team with Exit Community Realty. I've been a realtor since I was 26, maybe about 6 years ago. So I resonate with a lot of the agents who came into the business, didn't have any business. Family members didn't believe me, didn't want to work with me. They knew me as that barber, right? So I totally resonate with that. Just let me give you guys a quick backdrop about me. I have 2 daughters. I love them so dearly. I have a 14-year-old and I have a 7-year-old. When I started in the business, my babies she was like 8 or 9 months, and my oldest daughter was probably like 8. They're like 7.5, almost 8 years apart. So I had to figure out how to get business. So it was this thing called cold calling, right? So I would hear my broker talk about cold calling for deals, for listings and things like that, and I will always hear my broker say, we are a listing company, right? So I try my best to work with buyers. I'm like, because people used to say, working with buyers are easy. So I'm like, okay, but nobody liked me. So I'm like, why don't nobody like me, right? So I had to really, becoming an entrepreneur, I learned a lot about myself, right? I know that I'm a Virgo, I'm a high D personality, I'm very blunt, right? Sometimes I don't come off as empathetic, sometimes I don't come off as emotional, and the buyers, they really need that. But when I start working with sellers, I would close more sellers because they were about bottom line dollar figure. I could talk numbers all day, like I think Miss Linda, she said the numbers don't lie. So that really kind of propelled me to get listings, right? I didn't know how to work with a buyer. I didn't know how to have that part. So as I was trying to find business, I had to find a niche, right? So I tried absentee owners, I tried expired leads, I tried pre-foreclosures, I tried the whole gambit. Then one day, somebody came into the office and said, hey, I did this probate deal and I paid off all my debt. I was like, you paid off all your debt doing a deal? And they talked about it. So I said, well, I want to learn. So what we did was, and I'm gonna get into the presentation in a second, we went to the courthouse and we got the information. At that time, I was using a system called Podio. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it. It's a very manual system. Literally, you have to build out the template for how you put your information in the system. But I was broke, right? I didn't have no money, so I did whatever I had to do to get money. So what I love about probate is the fact that the leads aren't something you can just buy. You physically have to go to the courthouse to do the work to get the information. So I started cold calling probate leads. I got my first deal in 3 months and I made $20,000, right? And this was off of because we call it wholesaling, right? When you find a deal below market and then you sell it to an investor you put your fee on it, the investor flips the house, makes it pretty, and then as a realtor, we relist the house, right? That's 3 deals in one. So sometimes people would say, because our market, we're in the DC market, so our price points are a little higher. Sometimes people will look at a small deal and say, I'm not doing that. I said, well, I do it. Because you can make a lot off of knowing how to make people happy. Okay, you want this, and I want this, and this is what we're gonna do. So that's just a little backstory about me, and I think it's important that you understand who is talking to you, because I can resonate with, quitting my job, because I was crazy. I was like, I love real estate. I got this fire inside of me. I could learn this in 6 months. I mean, optimism, crazy, right? Crazy. And he was like, you really gonna quit? I said, I'm only 26. I get one life. So if I don't do good, I could just sell my house and then I'll figure it out. That was my mindset, and I didn't understand what I was doing, but I thank God that I took that leap of faith because it really helped me become the woman that I am today, right? So let's talk about probate. Are any of you guys in here, do you guys want more listings?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Are any of you guys kind of struggling with lead generation or referral based business? If you are, I understand, because that was me, right? So we're gonna go over how to find probate deals in your market. I actually did some research literally last night. It was just so easy to figure out how you guys can get that data, right? And how you guys can actually win these deals. So let's get into it. So I created this cute little ebook some years ago, right? And I was at the height, just so much success. and I call it real estate probate investing for big profits. I probably should have put listings too. I get more listings from probate than I do investing opportunities, okay? So what happens is a person loses a loved one, right? A lot of times, in my market, people don't have a will, right? Or they may have a will. Sometimes families want to keep the property, but then you have other interested parties, right, that are not always immediate family, cousins, aunts, uncles, second aunts, all types of people. Everybody has something to say about something, right? So you want to keep the property, but no one agrees. So a lot of times the first thought is, yeah, we're going to keep this in the house. We're going to create generational wealth, right? But everybody don't get along. Why? Because a lot of times with families, you have one person who lived in the house and took care of the person that passed. So that person feels like they have more of an investment in that house because they were in there while that person was going through their phase, okay? Then you have that same person typically who was in there taking care of the loved one who was sick. They paid the taxes, they went grocery shopping, so it wasn't just financial, it was more emotional, and it was a lot that went into that. So that person oftentimes petitions the court to become the personal representative of the estate. Just because a person petitions the court to become the PR does not mean that they will be the PR. They're just applying for the position, if that makes sense, right? So then you have other people who say, no, she's not good or he's not good, and then it's an issue, right? So that's oftentimes what happens with probate. I say it's the #1 group of motivated sellers. This is my personal opinion, right? Because what happens is when a person passes away, the family typically don't open the estate. It could be months later or it could be years later, right? Because they're not knowledgeable about what they should do, because sometimes they don't seek attorney, they don't seek help. They can just live there, pay the taxes, and it's its own, right? They're the #1 group of motivated sellers. Why? Because people pass, and then being a personal representative is a big responsibility because you have to take on the responsibility of that person's estate, meaning their bills, not only their mortgage, but their finances, credit cards, any outstanding debt that they have. You're responsible for taking care of those affairs, right? It's a low-cost leads through the public records. Getting the leads really just takes your time and your effort and your energy. It does not cost anything for you to go to the public records and get that information. In my market, in the DC market, if I literally pull up the docket, and I'll show you guys in a second, the personal representative or the person who applies to be the PR, they put their phone number there. I don't have to search their phone number. Now, also in my market, we have Maryland, which is Prince George's County, in which I do market too. I have to go skip trace and find the phone number of the PR. Yet, when they go down to the courthouse, they provide that information on the docket. So I don't have to go find a number, right? Off-market deals that are not listed in the MLS, right? These are off-market deals that, especially if you have a pool of buyers, you could market your deals to your buyers. You'll have those listings, things of such, right? And everybody will get a copy of this as well. And then with off-market deals, what I love is for real estate investing, right? I just did my last probate deal. I sold the house for $700. I made a $50,000 fee because I was on the listing and the buy side, right? I represented the seller and the buyer. In DC, we can do both. Then my investor renovated the property, and then we sold it for $1.6 million, right? So I made close to, maybe 60, 70 grand off one deal. Who said I had to do a $3 million house, right? I like the numbers. I like the bottom line numbers. $5 million house, great, but I can make the same amount of money on a $400,000 probate deal, if that makes sense, right? All right, so I say why invest in real estate? Because this was originally made for investors, but no different than any person. You get financial freedom, to your own boss. You build capital for future income producing endeavors, right? So if I'm making $70,000 or $80,000 off of one deal, right, in my market, I can then take that money and put it into apartment buildings or something like that, in which I really, really love, right? I can now take that large lump sum of money. I don't have to put that towards my regular bills. This is just my extra money. This is just my play money. Now I can go invest with that, right? Then I'll talk about goal setting. You guys can look over that. So why are you choosing probate? Your big why. the question that I ask you guys, and I want you to ask yourself, are you just getting started? If you're just getting started, this is, like I said, it's the low cost, best entryway to doing listings and or doing investment deals, right? If you don't have that sphere of influence, if you don't have that, I mean, honestly, in my life, I had an issue with building relationships, and this is just a very transparent moment about myself. So as I grew into entrepreneurship, I learned how to do that, but when I was calling people, I could be a whole nother person. You know how Beyonce is Sasha Fierce? I was Sasha Barber. I was a whole nother person. When I'm on the phone, I change, right? So you want to ask yourself, are you expanding your real estate business? Now, we have a lot of team leads. I get a lot of calls. So I'm sure you guys may have teams here. You may have people who you work with. You may say, hey, I just want to do an extra deal or two, or I want to get into investing. What should I do? If you're expanding your real estate business, this is something that you should highly consider, again, because it's a low cost lead entry, right? And then of course you get off market deals that are not listed in the MLS, and those are always great, right? So the profits comes in finding the deals, right? Remember, if you don't have no deal, you don't have no profit. So you should focus on finding deals. What happens is when I go on a lot of listing appointments with probate, a lot of times there are a lot of investors lowballing. There are a lot of realtors there, but I know that although for sale by owner expires, they call it saturation. It's saturation in this market, but I'm so good at what I do, I have no worries. Like I welcome competition because I know I'm going to win. So I focus on finding deals. I follow up with people. I mean, I don't just follow up 1 month, 2 months. I'm talking about a year. It could be 2 years. I don't care. Because what else am I doing? I should be following up. So I'm going to follow up because I want to make big money, right? So I follow up with people and I meet with people. Hey, let's do lunch. Let's do this. Let's do coffee. Let's do that. Let me show you how I can help you. Oftentimes people use attorneys, right? You guys may have some questions about attorneys. And my clients will say, well, I want you to speak with my attorney. Absolutely. What's their number? Let's talk about it, right? Because I want to show my client that it's not about just us. It's a team effort. Also, do note that when people are going through the probate process, yes, their attorney is there to advise them on that probate matter, but their attorney does not choose their realtor. These are two separate services. They don't have to go to that person's attorney. They can, realtor, they can if that's something that they choose to do, but just know that they don't have to do it that way, right? Your value increases tremendously when you have deal inventory. Good deals are hard to find. So I wrote this ebook some years ago. It says you have to evaluate at least 100 deals to get one juicy deal. That's not true. Right now in this market, people want to sell because they want to get high profits for their house. When I wrote this ebook, we were literally, 70% of the ARV times, minus repair costs. But what happens is when I go into a house, I'm always a realtor first, right? My goal is to always help benefit or maximize someone else's profit. Now they may say, hey, I don't want a realtor because of, like I had one client, their son was like in a wheelchair. They didn't want people coming in and out of their house. They weren't comfortable. So they wanted to sell to an investor. But I wanted them to tell me that. I didn't want to convince them of that. Because I'm like, well, if you put this house on the market, you can make $60,000 more than what you can do if I buy it. They didn't care about that. So you really have to go at a service-based mentality because, just face it, people are highly intelligent. They're very smart, right? So I don't look at people as not knowing. I look at them as knowing. I'm just here to provide those options for you. If you use me as a real estate agent, this is what I can do for you, this, and this. Or you guys, because I'm starting to hear that you guys have like the iBuyer program, or we have a pool of investors who may offer this, or this. Which is very important because people need to know about their options, even though they already know their options. They just want to see if you're going to present them with their options or if you're going to hold out on information. Your probate investing team, it starts with you. You are the rainmaker, right? You need a cash buyers list. You guys have cash buyer lists, right? You guys have the iBuyer and all of that stuff like that. But in our market, what we would do is we would go to networking events and we would meet with people and source people out. And like a lot of my cash buyers are people who I've built relationships with who actually close, right? Sometimes with cash buyers, you'll say, let me see your proof of funds. Not with my buyers. You sign this document, you put that $20,000, we call it in the escrow, you guys call it binder. Put it with the title company and let's get this done. 14 days, 7 days, we're good, right? You wanna get your contractor for helping you estimate the repair costs. A lot of these properties have been sitting in people's families for years, right? 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, a really, really long time. And it comes to a point where they have to sell it. They don't want to just sell it. So when you go into these properties, a lot of times the properties need work, right? And that's a good incentive, especially if you're doing real estate investing, right? So I'll tell a person, well, if you do the work, no different than the net sheets that you guys talked about, it's gonna cost you X amount of dollars, X amount of time. Then you have to know the contractors, right? So I'll show them that you can do that, but I'll still have my guys come in to give an estimate. And it's like, do you really want to take that route? Do you really, you're at your wit's end, do you really want to go that way? And a lot of times they don't. And then you want to have an investor-friendly title company, but if you're just doing a normal listing, then you technically don't need an investor-friendly title company. The reason why I say that is because in your market, I don't know if you guys wholesale deals, but we have a different contract for off-market deals, right? Yet you can still wholesale, you can still list a property and do a regular contract. But if you don't, you want to have an investor-friendly title company, just so they can understand the nuances of what you're doing, right? If your guys are not familiar with wholesaling, wholesaling is when you find a property, say $400,000, and then you sell that property to an investor for just say $150,000, right? You make a $50,000, we consider it an assignment fee, whatever you want to call it like that. But you have to make sure that title company understands your business and what you're doing. And there are 2 separate agreements that go with that. And then, so how to get started? So 5 simple steps. So what you want to do is visit your local probate court to find out how they store probate records. Records may be online or may be in old dusty files. Okay, so the beauty of your market, and I'm going to show you your stuff, is stored online. What happens a lot of times is you can get from the internet, like from a bird's eye view, and I'm going to show you this today. You can get the information, yet you don't get all of the information from the internet. In order for you to get that information, you have to be like an attorney or something and have some type of special code. I don't know what it's called. But let me show you. I pulled up Duval County. You guys are Duval County, right? Right. So this is what it looks like. So in the DC market, right? Let me go to my spreadsheet real quick. How do we figure out how to source this information? So our case numbers start with typically the year. What year is this? 2020. Somebody didn't do my data right. It typically starts with the year.
Correct.
ADM and then 00001. What does 0001 mean? That's the first case that was filed that year. And then so on and so forth, right? So it's easy for me to go to the courthouse and say, hey, I want to go get leads back from 2014. I'll just put in 2014, ADM 0001, 2, 3, 4, 5, on and so forth. But with your system, it's a little bit different. You guys, it's really weird to me, and I was trying to figure out why do they do what they do. Okay, I'm a Virgo, and I don't like surface stuff. I need to know why things are what they are, okay? So, your case number starts with the number 16. I don't know where that number comes from. What you could do, if you're interested, you can ask the courthouse why they do what they do. Because I'm just curious to know why. Dash, and then you have the year. This right here is 2021, dash CP, dash 0, and it's still 6 numerical numbers, and it's 0003. So last night, I said, okay, what's the first case? Then this pops up, it says nothing, right? And then I come to the second case, and then I hit open case, and then here we had on January 4th, 2021, there was an estate open, right? You see where it says names, Sylvie, Michelin, Gaudry, and Chantal, I don't know the last name, right? So that's more than likely the personal representative. Now, what's important is you have to go into these files, which you can do at the courthouse, and you have to look at the application, right? The application is the person who, applying to be the personal representative. Okay, right. So if I see, Miss Sylvia's name, I know when I go to the courthouse, I'm more than likely to see her name. But what you want to do is, you want to look for the application where it says, right here it says petition for summary admin testate, right? Yep. So that was the petition. A lot of times people ask me, Barbara, do you have to know the laws and all of that stuff? No. I'm a realtor. I know how to sell property. So what I tell people is, I know the answers to everything. You know why? Because I have an attorney on my team who can answer that for you. So they'll ask me a question. You know what? That's a really great question. I get that a lot. But you know what? Let me put you with the right person who can give you the most accurate answer. I don't want to give you any wrong information. Yet, I can sell your property from top dollar. I know that, right? So when you go to the courthouse, you want to make sure that you open up the petition. That's the application. And then typically what happens with probate is, well, in my market, I believe your market is 3 months. I did some research last night. They have to file a publication, right? They have to let all of the creditors know that this person has passed away. So typically it's 6 months. In my market it's 6 months. Why do they need to do that? Because the creditors have to come forth and say, well, this person owes me money. Just because you passed away does not mean you're still responsible for your debt, whether you're here or whether you're not, right? So a lot of times when you ever call these people, they'll say, hey, I'm in the probate process. And I kept getting that, like, what does that mean? That means that they're waiting to see if any creditors are gonna come back before they start, marketing or selling a big asset, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, we do have an attorney in the house. I believe your market is 3 months. Another thing that a person can do when they're first opening up their estate, they can get a bond. A bond is like an insurance saying that this person is credible and that if a creditor comes back, that they'll, rectify any issue that may come up. They just have to be a very trustworthy person. That's what a personal representative is, right? So you guys really could make some deals. I mean, I don't know your market like that, but this information is so easy to get. I got it in like 10 minutes. Literally 10 minutes. So if you go to the courthouse and you say, hey, you know what, they say the gold is in the old. Have you guys ever heard that saying? The gold is in the old? You never heard that? Like they say the fortune is in the follow-up, but the gold is in the old. When you go back, right? So I think Sonny said it. He says when he does FISBOs with you guys, he'll go back to 2010 to like 2014, right? And then he'll call those homeowners because, we had the recession and then people were either renting or they just stayed in the house and they didn't pay their mortgage, right? So Sonny said, I'm not going to 2020, 2019, I'm going back to 2010 because it may be a better opportunity for me to find a listing by, knocking on for sale by owners. No different than probate. The gold is in the old. So if you guys really want to get your business, especially if you're new, if you want to get your business started, they're going to, everybody in your office is going to say, how in the hell is he or she getting these listings? Let me tell you, my first year doing this, I got about 24 listings in 1 year. By myself, no team, no assistant, nothing, okay? And I lost deals too, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I'm gonna make all this money. I'm so excited, right? Not knowing that business is a process. It's a mental process that you have to literally overcome through adversity, through rejection, through yeses, through no's. It's a whole lot, right? So I won a lot of deals, but I lost a lot of deals, right? I lost a lot of big deals, but I'm okay with that because it made me a stronger person, even though I still get a little tear. So this is what your Duval County Clerk Office online portal looks like. Do you guys have any questions about this? Yes.
So ours doesn't have phone numbers. It looks like if you click on their name, will their number come up? Or?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
What you do is, it's one or two things that you can do, right? So typically in my market, when I pull up mine, it has the personal representative's home address. So it's this system called White Pages Premium. Are you guys familiar with that? Okay, write this down. This is really good. If you guys got your pens and pencils out, write this down, put it in the notes in your phone because it's your best friend. If you guys have home snap in this area?
Yes.
So you know how like you may ride around the neighborhood and you may see a property and it looks like abandoned or something, but maybe your buyer might want to buy, you snap it. You say, how do I find the seller's information? Well, you have the public records, right? And then you'll have their name and you have, if they're an absentee owner, it'll show their address, right? So you'll just go into whitepagespremium.com and then you'll put in the person's name and then you'll put in the state in which they reside. And literally, let me see. You can go on here and then it'll give you their phone number.
Fast People Search will do that too.
Yeah, Fast People Search is good. Fast People Search, I've tried that. It's not as accurate.
Oh, okay.
So, question, you got a question?
I just wanted to make a statement on the assignments, wholesale deals.
Oh, okay.
So you're not actually selling the property, you're signing the contract to the investor for a fee.
Okay.
So I wanted that just to be clarified. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, I can go deeper into that.
Okay.
But what you would do to find that information is you would put in their first name and their last name, and then you will put in their address. But see, your system does not give their addresses, so literally you would have to go to the courthouse and get that data, right? I also noticed that, so every county is different. They have different publications in which people notify creditors of, you know, someone who passed. So I researched this last night before I went to bed. It says Jacksonville's Daily Record. Are you guys familiar with this publication? Okay, so I seen that somebody named the estate of Francis Alberta Dooley, they have the notice to their creditors here. And then it says, on or before the later of 3 months after the time the first publication of this notice, or 30 days later, the date of service, this is sent to the creditors, right? But what I'm trying to show you guys is the personal representative name is Robert Warren Dooley, and here's his home address, okay? So you ask, how do I find their information? You don't know what publication that the people, you know, the PRs are gonna put this information in, so it could be a little bit of digging on your part. If you don't wanna go to the courthouse, you can dig this way, but the courthouse is the easiest way to get this information, I'm telling you guys. But this is really good because you have that person's name and you have their address. You could, a lot of times people are either in state or they're out of state. I'm the type of person, I don't care where you are, if you're like within like a 2 hour or 3 hour plane ride, you never know, you gotta get deals done, right? I'm willing to do whatever it takes. So you can also see it's another PR on here and then they have an attorney. So sometimes it's like, oh, my attorney, oh, okay, is your attorney, Mr. Hughes? Or I think it's Mr. Hughes. And then they'll say yeah or no. Oh, how did you know that? Because you know what? I really want to help you sell your house. So I did a little bit of research, right? And you get that information. So White Pages Premium, you do have to pay for a subscription, but it's very accurate. Like the Fast People Search is another one out there. I forgot the name of it.
True People Search.
Yeah, True People Search. They're okay, but this is more accurate than any other one.
Right.
That I've used.
There
There is another system that you guys are not supposed to use, but I'm gonna tell you anyway because it's just good data. Are you guys familiar with transaction TLO? TransUnion TLO? Okay. TransUnion TLO is really good too. But you know, you gotta they have to come and do an investigation and stuff. And you guys can just do some research on your own. So I'll give you that shameless plug. It's really good. So, and I'll go over the spreadsheet. So I have years and years and years and years and years of data. And I do not mind. I have virtual assistants in the Philippines as well. I do not mind calling these people to see if I can help them because a lot of my deals are no less than $30,000. Okay, and these are people I don't know, and these are not $1 million listings. These are listings that are old that needs work. Okay, so talked about how to get started. Like I know in North Carolina, their files suck. They're literally dusty. You got to go through all these big books. Luckily, you guys are not in a. All right, so you want to pull the information for each estate, right? So the question a lot of people have is, what information do I need? What do I need? How do I get started, right? You need the name of the personal representative or the person applying to be the PR, right? A lot of times that's the more responsible party. Somebody to go up there, fill out a bunch of paperwork, hire an attorney, do all of the necessary steps. They're the person you want to talk to. Although they're the PR, they're not always the person. They're not always the decision maker because you do have other factors and other family members. No different than selling a house or or working with a buyer. You're not always working with a decision maker, even though that person is going to be signing the dotted lines, right? Also, the personal representative does not trump the deed. Okay, a lot of times people think that just because I'm the PR, I have all of this responsibility. No, ma'am, or no, sir. The deed trumps any and everything that you can do. The powers be the deed. So, of course, I don't know how you guys do it, but before I take any listing in my market, I always want to land records and figure out whose name's on the deed, right? So I need to get an idea. I'm working with a family. Crazy story. It's a friend of mine who I used to work with. So her uncle passed, okay? And then her grandmother passed. So what happened was the uncle passed, but he was willing his portion of the estate to the grandmother, and then the grandmother passed. So the estate that has to sell the property is the grandmother's because she survived him. So the real estate school, the national, that books that we did and all that good stuff, it actually works. It actually comes into handy because we need it, right? When someone gets divorced, when they sever their marriage, you know, who died first, right? I had a case where the person had a house in DC, but they moved to Pennsylvania, so they had to open up a Pennsylvania estate, right? A foreign estate because that person actually resided in another state, so it was a long process. Long story short, we had to look at who died first. So especially if it's a marriage, we have to have death certificates and we have to know who passed away first, because the person who passed away first, if they were married, of course their surviving spouse. But if it was a marriage, right, it was two people, somebody that died, now is their tenants in common. 50% of that person's interest goes to their estate, or another percentage goes to, you know, whoever's estate. So if a marriage was severed and you have one person that survived, one person's 50% still has to be rectified. So you still can't sell their property. The estate has to sell the portion of their interest, if that makes sense. That was a lot. So, and if I move too fast, guys, you can slow me down. I talk fast. All right. So the information that you also need is the PR's home address, right? So sometimes we do mailers, right? We do mailers. We do letters. So like what happens, what I'll do is, I'm telling you guys, making the phone calls, I probably get about an 87% hit rate. When I get on the phone with them, they actually answer the phone. Now, they're gonna be like, I'm keep getting 1,000 calls from all you investors. You know, you might get cursed out right here now and then. But when you send them something in the mail, right, even if they curse you out, I don't care what they say to me. As long as, even if they say stop calling me, I may say, I forgot, sorry. Listen, I don't stop, guys. I do not stop. And let me tell you, what I'll do is, I'll say, did you get my mail, right? Did you get my mail piece? Because I have like information sheet and checklists and all of that. Okay, great. Well, listen, I'm not just trying to come and buy your house. I'm not trying to lowball you. I'm really trying to figure out how I can help you. We help people in these situations all the time. One of my unique selling propositions is I give them up to a $750 moving credit, right? This is very important because think about it. If you had a house in your family for 30 years, 20 years, 50 years, it's so much stuff. And sometimes I'll put out more money because I'm gonna make more than somebody who did a $3 million deal. I know I'm about to make 70 grand, right? So I'm like, you know what? You have to use my vendors, right? Because I have a relationship with my vendors. Use my vendors. Okay, who is the store? The reason why I like to use my people is because I control it. You know what? All right, I'm gonna pay for this service for you, okay? This is what we're gonna do. They're gonna follow my lead. We're gonna go over here. We're gonna put your stuff over here. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. You don't have to come out your pocket with anything. Then some of the psychology is, but they say I gotta take all this stuff out. Don't worry about it, because a lot of times the investors want to buy the house with stuff in it anyway, but they don't know that. They feel like they have to clean everything up. I'm going to take care of that for you. So when you talk to them about stuff, I already handled that. I got that covered. Like I got that taken care of. What else do you need? Oh, okay, great. I specialize in everything. Oh, you need what? Oh, okay. Let me make a phone call, right? So I always have a solution to a problem. Of course, you need the decedent's name, because when you write your listing agreement, it has to be the estate of Jane Doe by PR Johnny Doe. I don't know, right? It has to be the estate of by and then the person representative's name, comma PR. Of course, you need the decedent's address. That's the house that you're calling on. That's the house that you either want to buy as an investor, or that's the house that you want to list as a realtor, right? And what I love about probate is when I take my listings agreements, I do a 6% listing fee, right? I don't know what you guys do in this market, and my admin fee is $6.95. If I'm bringing a buyer, I get the whole 6%. I don't have to give 2.5% to the other agent. I want all mine, right? When they say we market the property, I'll market my database and I'm making phone calls. Who wants to buy this house that's in my database? Because I'm gonna make 6%. So I encourage you guys, I don't know if you guys do this in your market, but 6% of 400,000 or I don't know what your market prices are, 500,000, that's a lot of money to me. So I don't need to do $1 million. I just need to get 6% of 500,000, and I'm good, right? So of course you need the case number, just in case you got to research. And then the filing date is really important because it just keeps you in order of, you know, your information. The way okay, let me tell y'all real quick. The way your information is, okay, I'm like a neat freak, right? I'm a Virgo. I'm highly like organized and I'm crazy with it. My data has to be clean. Like I want my stuff in order. It has to have some sort of order. So just know that your case number or your filing date, however you want to sort your information, just make sure that it's organized. So when you go back to it, it's easy to go to. Oh, and you can easily explain it to the next person. Because ultimately, you're not going to be the one going to the courthouse. You're going to have, you know, maybe a mentee do it, right? Because we want to teach our mentees how to make money. Yay. So of course you transfer the data to a spreadsheet, and I just said to stay organized. I know myself so well, right? Google Sheets, Excel would suffice. Google Sheets to me is highly recommended because if you have like what they changed it, it's called Google Workspace, right? www.barneshometeam.com, Barbara@barneshometeam.com. Let me show you what I'm saying. I'm a visual person, so I'm sure you guys are familiar with Baycall, right? Let me show you my Google Drive real quick. So this is just a snippet of my drive, okay? So organization is very important to me. I have more than one business, so I have a couple of businesses in here. So when it's time for me to share certain folders with people, I gotta know what I'm sharing, who I'm sharing it with. So like if I wanted to bring in somebody, I can just literally add them to the folder. They don't have to get access to all of my business, right? And then if I start working with that person, I just take them right off, right? So like for example, these are our leads. Like we have leads since 2015. We have a lot of leads in here because we can always go back and source this data. And then also I keep a template. So whoever works for me, they don't have to figure out, okay, what do I do? You just literally copy and paste and then put the information in the spreadsheet. And if you guys want this, I do not mind sharing this with you. Okay. Any questions so far? So I talk fast. I love interaction, y'all. It makes me excited. So how to get started as well? You call the person who represents the PRs of the estate. Remember, you're calling about the decedent's property. Sometimes when we see the two addresses, we may forget, like, oh my God, like this says California. No, that's where they live. We're calling about the subject address in your market, okay? And then you can send direct mail to the PR's home. You can remember you are sending them the information about the decedent's property. I don't know. You are sending ton. I don't know. That's a typo. That's there though. Like I said, the gold is in the old. I believe that it's very important to start with the older leads first. Another reason why it's good to start with the older leads first is because when the estate is first opened, again, they want that period of where they send the publication out to the creditors, right? They want to make sure no one is going to come back and say, hey, this person owes this. Let me get y'all a crazy story. So it's this listing in DC. I got so many stories, y'all. It's this listing I was supposed to get in DC literally like a couple of months ago. So I did the whole gambit, the whole horse and pony show. Yeah, had some meetings, got 2 people to sign a listing agreement. And I'm like, why won't this last? It was 3 PRs. Why won't she sign? She was so impressed with me. What happened? So I'm the type of person, I want to know why you don't want to work with me. If you don't, it's fine, but I need a reason. Right? I'm that crazy. So she tells me, she say, oh, because my mom that passed had a Medicaid bill of $700,000 and they were trying to get around it. So what happened was, let me tell you what happened. The will had that the house would be deeded to the 3 PRs, right? The 3 heirs. That was true, right? You can get willed the house. Yet, she had a personal debt. So I put them with an attorney to get the deed transferred into their name. And they thought if they get the deed transferred into their name, they could kind of, backdoor the fact that she had this $700,000 debt against her. So they didn't tell me that. So I kept on trying to figure out, I was talking to the attorney like, what's up? Like, talk to me, what's happening? He's like, I already did the deed. I did my part. So I'm talking to the lady who called me, who engaged me. I'm like, what's going on? Like, just talk to me, I'm okay. Like, it's fine, I'm a big girl. You won't hurt my feelings, right? So she said, yeah, my mom had a debt. and she said the Medicaid, I don't know how Medicaid gave her $700. I have no idea how these things happen. So I said, that's fine. I said, did you guys go to court? Because you still have to go to court. Like, they can't just put a lien against you and that's what it is. You still have to represent that person. So I said, did you guys go to court? Did you fight it? She said, yeah, it was actually a judgment against us. Because, like, what happens is if they're in mediation and they're still trying to figure it out, it's still a possibility that the house can be sold because they haven't settled that dispute, right? But the fact that the dispute was settled, you didn't tell me, you were trying to backdoor the process, it won't work, right? So sometimes, once you did everything you can do for a person, let's just, do you want to do this or not? Like, what's really happening? And then we figured it out. So just know that sometimes when people pass, they do have debt obligations, and you may ask the PRs, are there any liens or judgments, not against the house, but the person? Because a creditor, right, a normal person, like your house is your biggest asset, especially if you purchased a house and years and years and years ago, and that creditor knows you has a house. They're not gonna go after your car, they're gonna go after the biggest asset that you have, right? They're gonna go after your home. So when they take you to court, they want their money. So they're gonna attach the lien or whatever to your biggest asset. So you may ask your personal representative, does this person have any liens against them? They may not know because it's their personal business and maybe mom or grandmom didn't say anything. But it's important because sometimes people do know because they knew. They just trying to not tell. Yeah.
So the mother is the one that owned the house,
And
correct?
she passed.
Okay, so she passed, so she was the one with $700,000.
Yes.
Right? So whatever the house sold for, then that debt would have.
Yes.
been paid.
Yes.
So if that home, okay, so the 3 PRs, if they sell the house, they gotta pay the debt.
Right. That
No
means.
matter how much, so if they sell the house for $1.
Yep.
To a family member.
Yep.
They have to pay that to that. And
Exactly.
then that family member can then sell. The
Well-
house is free and clear after that.
No. So the house was only worth $500,000. So they owed $700,000. So they were negative $200,000. So they wasn't gonna make no money. So there's no point in going through this process if you're not gonna make no money. You see what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
in the bigger sense. but
Yes.
Since they were trying to back out of it, if they sold it to someone that.
They can't.
Got it.
Cause literally the court docket against, so you guys know when you go through title, they're gonna pull your social. Right? So they're gonna pull the person that passed away's prior information. So that it's gonna come up, you can't get around it. Is that not right, Luana?
Now, can we do that research before?
I
we
wouldn't
go to
waste my time.
Okay.
My goal is to get the listing agreement signed and put it on the market. And sometimes you will have title issues, right? Because the person passes and they're not here anymore. But a lot of times people know, right? Especially if they were close with their parent or whatever, they typically know. And then they're getting the bills to the house, so it's not like it's a secret. Yeah. So I always say,
At that point, then you just weigh what the house is worth to what they have.
Exactly.
And then you can make an informed decision whether or not
yeah.
it's not worth it.
Yeah, because some liens can be small. Like you can have a $20,000 lien against you. Your house is worth $500,000. You just got to make sure the lien is satisfied.
Or make the title company know that it's going to be paid off.
Exactly, and it has to go in the settlement statement. And I don't know how it is here, but in our area, it has to go in the settlement statement. Everybody has to get paid. It's very important that you gotta dig deep with people.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So would you recommend if they don't know if they have any lien, like just say, hey, cause sometimes title company or attorney company charges a certain amount of money to do the title search. Would you say like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but go ahead and pay this fee, let's see what's in the history before we get a buyer where it's gonna be more delayed.
I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
No, my goal is to get contracts signed.
No, after the listing is signed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't, so, I mean, one of the things that I can do, like I have a really close relationship with my title companies, and I'll say, do a preliminary search for me real quick. But they don't charge because it's our relationship. If I'm bringing you five deals every month, you can't do me a favor. Like, so why am I doing business with you? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we can do a preliminary title search, just to kind of see on the surface. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like in DC, our market is really tenant friendly. Like it's tenant, like they don't care about landlords in DC. I know in Florida it's a little bit different. Literally, like people can squat in your house for years upon years and take you to court, and you still gonna be in trouble as a landlord. Okay.
That's so true.
So even with like housing issues, right? If you have like housing violations and things like that in my market, that comes up on title as well, right? Because if somebody lives in a house and they're not out of the house, they technically have rights. Well, where we're from, I don't know about here, but it's crazy, and it happens all the time. You know why it happens? Because if a family member is living in a house and they've been living it for years without paying bills, why do they want to move? Like, it's gonna be cheaper for me to live here rent free. I mean, you can give me a quick $15,000 settlement, but that's gonna be rent. That's not even rent. Is $3,000 a month. What am I gonna do with 15 grand, right? So you have to be able to incentivize people. When I go into these deals, guys, I'm not on nobody's side. They're fighting. I just want to know, how can I get this person out this house, and how can I best serve you? What do I have to do? You need moving services? You need, what do you need? Like, I really get in there and I treat everybody the same, even if they're a tenant, because tenant is relative, right? Because they're really not a tenant. But they're important too, because without them moving, I have no deal. I can't do nothing. So I have to be able to play different roles and have on different hats, and then bring in people, other resources to help me. Like, I don't just do this thing by myself. When I go, I've done a lot. So when I first got into the business, let me tell you. So I just gotta tell y'all these stories. There's a lot of stories. So my first deal, I was so green. I was so new. So I had a real estate investor friend. I was like, yeah, I'm talking to Vernon Jones. And he's like, oh, let me go back. So when I went back to Vernon Jones, he said, oh, that was your boss. I said, yeah, that was my boss. This is what my boss said he's gonna pay for. So what I would do is utilize the male, right, counterpart. And I would say, hey, well, he's the boss. I'm just doing what he said. That was my strategy, and it worked like a charm every single time. But a lot of times, I forgot who I was talking to last night. It's not about experience, it's about trust. A person, they don't care what your track record is. If they don't trust you, you're not gonna do business. So even though I was new, people could tell I'm new, I don't know as much, I'm gonna do a good job for you. My heart is in it. So that kind of separated me from everyone else. And I was okay with sharing that. Like, listen, I understand what you're going through. I lost my brother, and then I'll, connect with them. And another thing that people ask me real quick, do you offer your condolences? I don't. When I call them, I'm calling them about real estate. Now, if they express to me some grief, then I'll now give my empathetic, my thoughts, because I don't want to conjure up any old feelings. Like, I don't want to be the person to do that, on the receiving end, because it's kind of hurtful. So if they express to me, I'll give it back to them, but I don't lead with my condolences.
So run through a script when you're calling somebody.
Oh, hey, this is Barbara with the Barnes Home team of Exit Community Realty. I talk real fast. Calling about 123 Main Street, just calling to see if you're looking to sell now or in the near future. And a lot of times they know, because their information is, on the docket. Yeah, no, you got the information from the public record and okay, great. Well, what my company do is, we're not only just trying to give you an offer, we're trying to help you get the most for your house. Once they hear that I'm trying to help them get the most for their house, I promise you guys, the conversation dies down. It's like, okay, how can you help me? Listen, I understand you're not ready right now. So my goal is, I know I'm not gonna get the appointment a lot of times on the first call, is to get their email, right? Because their email is information that I was not privy to, right? I just wanna send you my information. They also already have their home address. Is it okay that I send you my information in the mail as well, right? So a lot of times people are just so social media, so digital. I hit it from every angle. I'm digital. I love doing videos. I love speaking, right? But I'm gonna send you my card in the mail. I'm gonna send you my business card. I'm gonna send you a letter. You're gonna know about my company, right? You're gonna get a text message from me as well. So you're gonna know Barbara. Even if you don't work with me, if somebody says my name, you're gonna know who Barbara is. So that's kind of what I do. I hit it from all angles. So you don't have to be perfect on none of your calls. You know what? Is it okay that I send you more information about my company? I understand that it may take you, 3 to 6 months to get your creditors and all of that stuff, the publications. It takes a while. I get it. Is it okay that I just send you some information? And they just say, yeah, why not? Because people love information, right? So it typically takes PRs about 3 to 6 months to make a decision on their home. A lot of times people know what they're gonna do, but it's just other family members who are just a problem. It's a burden. So don't give up. So the systems and tools needed, right? To earn huge profits in probate investing will require you to have systems and tools to work effectively and efficiently. I always promote Gmail, I think they should pay me. It gives you the ability to use your Google Drive, you know, to save your spreadsheets. You can easily share this information, save it. You can log in anywhere, anytime to gain access to your data. And it's good for sharing with your team members. So if you're like tag teaming with somebody, we can all just kind of be in one system. Your follow-up system is absolutely important. The fortune is always in the follow-up. Your lead nurture system, 95% of the time, the leads have to be nurtured over time in order for you to land a deal. So, I mean, I would have to call people at least like 20 times. I don't care. Especially if I'm hiring other people to kind of do some of this work for me. So what? Like, this is the business that we're in. It's called a contact sport, right? So we have to make contact with people. Well, investor website, you don't really need an investor website because we're realtors, but you let them know, hey, a division of my company, if you guys decide to do investing, we do investing as well, right? We do, I don't know if you guys work with investors, but we do development or whatever you do, but just have a website, period. Just have a website, and just make sure that your branding is consistent. When you pull me up, Barnes Home Team, Barbara J. Barnes, Barbara Barnes, Barnes Home Team, that's all you're gonna see. People will want to verify that you're a legitimate company through your website. And I think I was talking to Sonny the other day, and he talked about how when people are older, they care if a person is not a digital company, but they're actual brick and mortar somewhere. They have, if something happens, I can pull up, right? We say pull up. We gotta make sure that we can find you. So make sure that you know, of course, put your company address and all of that kind of stuff like that. And say, hey, if you wanna meet in my office, let's do it. You can meet with my broker. I always utilize my broker because people love the word broker. They love the hierarchy. He's the boss. He is absolutely amazing, guys. You have to meet him. He's better than me. I learned from the best, right? Check your resources page for a link to the best investor site, but you don't have to
That
worry about
wasn't
that
for me. That wasn't for me.
Auto dialer. Are you guys familiar with auto dialer? Are you guys familiar with Mojo Dialer?
Yeah.
You are?
They are.
Okay.
Yes,
Raise your
Yeah.
hands if you're familiar with Mojo Dialer.
Everybody in here.
Okay. Raise your hands if you're not familiar with Mojo Dialer.
Are you
Okay, so
serious?
it's 50-50. Okay, so
These moon time.
so an auto dialer is a system that allows you to cold call
Okay.
individuals without using your cell phone, and it allows you to dial 3 or more numbers at the same time. Okay, let me tell y'all. When I first started in business, I would literally use my cell phone. It would take me about 2 minutes per call. Let me tell you why. You call the people, you call whoever, it takes about 17 to 30 seconds for the phone to actually ring. 17 seconds is half if they answer the phone or maybe the third ring, right? Then if they don't answer the phone the third ring, you have to listen to their voicemail message. I don't know how long that's gonna be. That could take another 15 to 20 seconds, right? So you're already 50 seconds in the call, that's 1 minute, and then you have to leave a voice message, okay? And your voice message should be no longer than about 30 seconds. So I say 2 minutes, right? Because once that whole process starts and stops, I take notes on every person. This person didn't answer, left a voicemail. So as I started cold calling, I kept calling. I'm like, my mouth getting dry. I'm telling you, my mouth getting dry. I'm like, how can I be better? And I just didn't understand, like, what can I do? So I got introduced to an auto dialer. So literally what you do is you put your phone number in the system, and then it rings 3 people at the same time. If one person answers and you're on the phone with another person, it leaves a callback message. My callback message is literally just air. Because what happens is they'll call me back and say, hey, you called me and you didn't say nothing. Oh, I'm so sorry. Then I'll put them in my system. Oh, okay, this is, Miss Donna from 123 Main Street. Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Donna, I was calling you about your property like that. So if you're not familiar with Mojo, I'll give it to Sonny, and then he can make you guys privy to it. But it's really, really great. It saves you time. You literally do a pre-recorded voice message. So instead of leaving a voice message, like literally for every person, you just do one general voice message and then they'll call you back. Okay, is this valuable so far?
Yes.
Are you guys getting something out of it? Okay. So your CRM, of course, I'm sure everybody knows what that is. It's your database, right? Where you keep a track of your leads. I use Follow Up Boss for my CRM. I love Follow Up Boss because it's very user friendly, and I literally just log my customers' information in there. And whether we text, whether we call, whether I send mail out, I see everything that I've done with that particular individual.
What is it called? Follow-up.
Follow-up
Follow-up
boss. And I can show it to you guys. I'll show it to you guys as well. I'll show you like some real stuff that I've actually done. Of course, the MLS access, right? Again, this presentation was made for investors. You guys are realtors. You all have access to your MLS. I will hope so. Okay. And then again, we have an investor toolkit. You guys don't need this. This is what I tell people. The process for investors and the process for real estate agents is absolutely the same process. You're going to a person, you're seeing if you can either buy their house or you can list their house. You want to compel them to work with you, right? You still have to get signed contracts. So the process doesn't change. It's that I'm wearing my realtor hat. I'm a realtor to help you. Yeah, if you can get an iBuyer to buy their house real quick, you're gonna make money in like 7 days. I think, how long does it take for the iBuyers to do deals in this market?
It depends on the sellers. It can be 2 weeks, where they want to, move.
Okay.
Yeah, closing date.
Okay, well, a lot of times with probate properties, they're vacant, or they have family members who, was occupying the property because that person has, but the person representative oftentimes don't live in that house. So a lot of these properties are faster to move, if that makes sense. All right, and then the stats, right? Each market is different. It is proven that 80% of the PRs sell the real estate within the first 5 years of the passing of their loved one, right? Most time families can't keep up with the bills. Furthermore, the property needs a ton of work that the PR cannot maintain to upkeep the house. 10% of the people keep the property within the family, right? And 10% rents to a tenant. A lot of times the people who keep their property in the family, they already had a plan before the person passed. A lot of times if they didn't have a plan, they sell it. And that's real. This right here is talking about know your numbers, but this is more of an investing slide, but it's talking about your maximum allowable offer. And then competing for oh, did you guys want to go back there?
No, right here.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's talk about it, right? So I wasn't here to teach investing, but I think that is important. If you are calling this list, know that investors are going to be a part of your competition. Okay, so investors are typically offering 65% of the after repair value. The after repair value is the value of the property when it's fully renovated. Okay, minus repair costs. And then this is an example for you. How do you make your money? You offer the seller 70%. So that difference between that 65 and that 70 is your fee. Okay,
That's correct.
So easy math is right here. If you do an ARV of 350K times 0.65, you have 227,500. Say your repair cost is 70,000. You want to offer the seller 157.5, right? Then you do the same deal. You give it to your cash buyer, right? You do an assignment. You'll offer you do 350 times 70, which is 245. Subtract the repair cost. You have 175,500. You do the math. Your wholesale fee is 17,500. But again, I'm not here to really teach that part because that's like a whole like real estate investing class. But it's just important to understand what your competition is doing. So if you're a realtor, you can say, well, typically investors, they'll probably pay around $245,000 for this house. I can list this house for $320,000. See, that could be your unique proposition if you're going against investors. Does that make sense? Right? So now you can solidify that listing, but the goal is still to sell the listing before it goes on the market. Get that 6%. I don't know if you guys can do that, but I do it. Okay? So it's highly competitive in all markets. If you guys are new to this and you're not sure, just know that it's very fierce. The competition is fierce out here. And you have a lot of savvy, experienced real estate investors. You have a lot of savvy real estate agents. Well, we have this system called Bright MLS. I think your MLS is different. And they have a new feature in our MLS. It says probate. Literally, like if the listing is a standard or if it's a short sale, they now have probate because probate is a hot commodity. And people do a lot of deals in this business doing probate. So you're dealing with top brokers, agents, teams, like people out there sourcing these deals because they're off market and they go faster because they're vacant, like I said, or they have so much equity. It's an easier sale. And you set yourself apart. We always talk about having a unique selling proposition to win the deals. When I first got into the business, it was about trust. It was about my heart. Like, I really cared about helping you make the most for the property, because some of these investors are not going to give you what your property is worth. You know, if you're going through a tough time with your family, you need as much money as possible to make whatever moves you need to make. And if I'm in here just trying to give you 65% of the value, and I know you can get 325, I mean, I have more of a unique selling proposition because I really want to help, right? And then, of course, so I say follow up with each lead for about a year, okay? A very long time. Being persistent, you will be remembered. So just think about it. I mean, I'm not sure what your business is, but if you can make an extra $200,000 a year by calling, it's going to take you some time. And if you're brand new and you're doing, 10, 20, I don't know how many listings you guys can get in this market, why not? It may take you like 6 months to get a deal, but once you start getting those deals and your business starts growing, your confidence goes to a whole nother level. Like, and then you can get people to help you, and then you can build your team, then you can build your buyers up. So I'm just saying, especially for new agents, because I resonate with you guys a lot, don't be scared to put yourself out there, and because you're not talking to people that know you. So if you make a mistake, you can easily like, you know what, I said that wrong, let me just call the next person, all right? Always get the email address for each lead. It's very important that you get information that is not public, because now they're sharing intimate details with themselves about themselves, right? I think that's just an important thing. And then, hey, listen, I'm about to send you an email right now, and the way my system works is, check your email. I already sent you an email. Boom. Here's the text. Here's the video. Here's the link to my website. I'm going to be in front of you for the next year. Is it okay? Listen. And then you just build that relationship. And then that's a way that you can build relationships if you don't know how. To me, with strangers. That's just me. Leverage with virtual assistants. Now, the market changes a lot. I don't know how you guys work here in your market, but for me, virtual assistants is really important because they do all the data entry for me. Like the spreadsheet I'm gonna show you guys, like that takes hours. It used to take me about 8 to 9 hours a day to put all that information I got from the courthouse into a spreadsheet. So as I start making money, I start hiring people and I start outsourcing. Depending on the market that the VAs are in, you can pay them between $4 to $6 per hour, literally. You have to verify that their internet connection and that the work is being done, because like the Philippines is a third world country, so they have a lot of typhoons and a lot of storms, and it's crazy. So sometimes they have bad internet connection. So you have to make sure someone has stable connection. And I always say use a credible virtual assistant company, because they're likely to be in a third world country. But see, the reason why I say use a VA company, because you'll have like a center like this, right? And then the VAs can come into the office, right? And then they can get stable connection through the company, right? So the company is making their money by putting them with us. But instead of them working from home, they're working in an office, but they're more appreciative because they don't really have a lot of job opportunities in these other countries. Any questions so far? Good? Okay. All right, so cold call probate sellers, you will get more no's than you get yeses, but all it takes is one yes, literally, one yes. Be prepared to work at least 4 months with no pay. This is what I tell people. You have to sow and plant seeds before you reap a big deal. It took me 4 months to win my first 20K deal with no money down. Have confidence and know your market. And of course, follow me on social media. I'm Barbara J. Barnes. Yes, shameless plug.